You might know me for 2 writing streams I did in the last couple weeks. You probably won't because they didn't get a lot of views, but you might. And if you do, thank you. I love you. But anyways, my next big structured stream is going to be this Friday. And as mentioned last time, I'm going to be talking about Thunderbolts and the 3-act structure. But today, I thought we'd have a little fun. I'm going to go through every character in Honkai Star Rail, every playable character at least, and rank them because I got into this in the last year, and now I have a lot of thoughts. Obviously, as a writer, I'm going to be ranking these characters based on how well written I think they are, not based on how good they are in combat. There's much better people for that, and not even based on character design, though that probably will play a bit of a factor. But yeah, I'm going to be going through, I'm going to be talking about all these guys with an emphasis on their storytelling. And without further ado, let's get to it with the first character, the Trailblazer, or I'm going to call her Stell because I play Stell. And Stell's kind of like in a weird situation, like talking about silent protagonists or quote unquote silent protagonists is weird. And I think there is a bit of tension in Stell's character between like giving, or the Stell and Kalis's characters, between giving them like their own character and like their own personality and persona, and like trying to still let them be an audience insert, which I don't always think works well. I think we would be getting better story if it was better storytelling if it was just going all in on the Trailblazer being their own character. And they are inching more and more towards that as the game goes on. So maybe I'll get my wish. I actually think the Trailblazer is really well characterized considering how few dialogue lines they have. Honestly, the dialogue lines are like the weakest characterization. And like, maybe I'm just being influenced by marketing and the way me and my friends talk about them. But like, I do love this grubby little raccoon monster. They are great. And I think we're going to start off strong with an A tier. For the record, I do think I already know which characters are going to be in S tier. There's only going to be 3 of them unless I talk myself into or out of a character being S tier. Talking myself into is more likely than talking myself out of one, but that's just something to keep in mind while I'm going through all these guys. Next up is March. And March has a problem that you're going to be running into a lot with some of these characters, being I don't think there's like a lot of strong emotional like core elements for March. Like she gets her most like actual development in the Amphoria storyline, wherein she spends most of her time either asleep or replaced with her evil edgy counterpart. So that is a bit weak. I do like March more after Amphorius. I think she's similar to Don Hung. I'm going to call him Daniel. I think she's very similar to Daniel, this guy, in that it does have a lot of weaknesses up until Amphorius when she starts being a more emotionally strong character. I think the biggest thing March has over Dan is just that like March has a fun personality. Like it's fun to bounce off of her and to make her do the face. So I think she's fun. I think she's like B tier, lower B tier. I like her. Also trans rights. And then we've got Welt. Welt Yang, the guy who is canonically from the fucking Honkai Impact 3rd game, a fact I only know because I have a friend who was a fan of Honkai Impact 3rd. And that's kind of segueing into my problem with Welt. None of his character is in the story. Like, I know there's like lore for him and like character details in the background and like one-off interactions. I think that's like fine enough as like supplemental material. It doesn't work for replacement. Like, within the story itself, despite getting a decent bit of screen time, Welt has very little chance to show off his nuances as a character. He's just kind of there. And like, yeah, he doesn't do a lot. I think the entire Express crew were pretty undeveloped at the start, and they've been slowly fixing that in over the last two patches to the point where I think Welt is now the primary victim of no characteritis. So Welt is probably going to be like the thing is they do enough even like in even in plain Arcadia they do add some details for him. I do love the detail of the stoic old dad figure being really into mechs, and that bit of characterization is fully the thing that pushes him into C tier, because if he didn't have like a bit of that more fun characterization, I'd probably have to put him in D tier. Asta. Okay, so I'm going to have to disclose something. I have not played all of the side quests. I have not played most of the side quests. So if there's a character who gets more development in the side quests, I'm probably not going to be able to speak on them very well. So that's your disclosure of bias for this stream. I actually have done a good few of the I have actually done a good few of the side quests with Asta in it. I don't think they're very good at characterizing her. Like there's a bit or two that's funny. I really like the joke where people think she's stealing money from the company from the Herta space station because they don't realize that because they cannot comprehend or believe that she's using her family's personal funds to purchase expensive things for the space station. That's a funny gag, and that funny gag is a lot of what's putting her in C tier. And then we have Arlen. I do feel bad for Arlen. Like, again, the writing in the beginning was not very strong. Like, especially early on, Honkai Star Rail is very held together by its cool world building. And yeah, Arlen's not a very complex or well-written character, which especially sucks because he's like the only guy in Hoyoverse with an actually dark skin tone. Not even the only guy, like the only person. And that's not good. Hoyo, either bring back Arlen and make him a really good character, or add another POC character and make them really good and plot important. For now, I'm gonna pair him with his girlfriend in C tier. And then we're getting to the girlfriends, the lesbians, the Planet One gays, the queer-coded for literal years, the explicitly gay before the game even came out duo. I don't like Branya and Sela that much. I think Belobog was kind of bad. And Branya and Sela are basically just, we have Kate Vi at home, except Kate Vi is made interesting because, like, there's a lot of good character moments, like when Vi tries to ditch Caitlyn, and when Caitlyn saves her anyways, or one of the best Kate Vi moments, when Caitlyn actively gives up her weapon, the only thing she can use to defend herself in Zon, to help save Vi. And I'm not trying to just talk about Arcane in this Honkai stream. I bring this up because Sela and Branya don't have any choices that like impact the other really. Like, I guess Branya has the choice to go try to confront her mother on her own, but they don't get any drama out of that. They get like some ambiguity of, oh, what's Branya gonna do? Is she gonna join her mom? But like, I feel like if you want to get drama out of this, you could maybe have Sela be really upset about that. Like this ship is held together by the fact that they're apparently very gay in Impact. And also, the one scene where they're like, oh, hey, I guess we're from the same orphanage. That doesn't really actually mean all that much because Branya was adopted so young that she does not remember it. These both also go in C tier. A lot of people are going to be in C tier early on. I'm trying to reserve D tier for characters that have actually like big gaping writing flaws instead of just being like not great. Like there just wasn't sauce put in them. And then we get to Clara. Clara is finally breaking our streak of B tier. So my big so Clara is like the only part of Belobog's story from a character perspective I like. It's the only part I was significantly invested in up until the really cool final fight, which I was more interested both for world building implications and because it was a really cool fight. But like there was actually some interesting emotional core in Clara. I like this very sweet girl and her xenophobic robot dad. That was sweet. I liked it. Uh, it made me feel any emotions, which is more than I can say for the rest of Belobog, except for the final fight again, because the final fight was fucking awesome. Japard. I don't have anything to say about Japard. He's in the game. He like believes he like is trying to earnestly protect Belobog, and he's like a good dude despite being an antagonist. I don't remember shit. Well, I remember pieces of this guy. I just don't think there was very much to him. Uh, Again, Belobog was bad. Then we get Serval, who I like a bit more. Like she's still only high C tier, low B tier. But I think that just getting a bit more time with her does make her slightly more likable just from like some decent I'm talking myself down to C with Serval because it's like, oh yeah, there's some fun character beats. Then again, I have played some of her side quest content, which is more fun. I like the idea that she wants to be an express cohort. Her toxic Yuri thing with Cocolia is fun. Fuck it, I'll put her in low B, but like she's the lowest B. I'm gonna put most other people above her. Then we've got the Pitch Dark Hook the Great. So when I was in the Belobog section, at the end of Belobog and beginning of Xianzhou, my takeaway was that Hook was my favorite character in this game. That's obviously changed so far, but like, I don't know. I think she's a cutely written kid. I like her quest about the teddy bear gets me. I am a plush girly, so plot lines about like kids and their stuffed animals get to me. And then we have Sampo Kasuki. I hate Sampo more than words can express. Every single time he shows up on the screen, I have a freak out in my friends group chat. I just shout no until he disappears. I hate him so much. I know he's annoying on purpose, but I just have a very low tolerance for annoying men. He's not annoying in a fun way. He just sucks. I don't want him on screen, and I'm so angry that he's definitely an emanator and is going to be plot relevant soon, and it makes me so angry. Hoyo, please delete Sampo Kasuki from the game. Please, for me. I don't want him to exist. Like, delete his character and write a better one, please. I hate him so much. Then we've got Natasha. Natasha's like upper C tier. Like again, I have played her quest. I've mostly played Belobog quests instead of late game quests because that's when I was getting in and feeling the gamer and getting a feel around for the game. And you know, it felt more loose. And when I'd gotten and less like, oh, I've gotten through a ton of story content and I'm still like only halfway done. So yeah, I played more Belobog quest content. That's going to be a running theme for a bit. And I think Natasha's fine. I think she's saved a lot by her like quest content. I think she's like in the same vein of Serval, where she's either like the top of B or top of C or the bottom of B. But yeah, I don't. She's fine. I hope we're going to get to some interesting characters to talk about soon. Luca, I don't remember shit about him. He's in D not because I hate him, but because I just didn't play. You know what? I need a new tier. This is going to be gray. Okay. This is going to be gray, and it's going to be titled Who who are you? You people. And I'm putting Luca in this because I've played through his quest lines, but I also skipped through all of them for Stellar Jades, so I don't know shit about this dude. Sorry. I haven't even played Lynx's quest line. Don't know shit about her, only that she was my sustain for my earliest periods of the game before I got decent sustains. Pella, she doesn't go in Who Are You People because she is a bit in the main quest and also kind of the putting her next to Sampo feels too rude. I don't know shit about her. Um, she's just kind of there. Uh, my main impression is that apparently her age is really weird, according to my friends. I don't know. I'm putting her in C tier because putting anyone next to Sampo feels cruel. And then we got Topaz. So Topaz is someone who definitely would have been in C tier if it wasn't for like her two scenes in Farewell Penacony. And they're not even like standout scenes. They're not like, oh, Topaz gets a lot of moments. It's basically just Topaz being gay for Jade, but I think it's very interesting because it sort of recontextualizes Topaz. Because like before this, Topaz is like, oh yeah, she's the cog in the capitalist machine who's like actually a good person and wants to do good and believes in the potential of the capitalist machine. You've seen a million of these. They're the people who work for the bad guys, but are meant to humanize them because they're like, I believe this. Any good cop you've ever seen in a TV show is a similar sort of thing. And like I would have just been annoyed or like neutral on Topaz before that. But then like in the scenes where you can see her essentially being gay for Jade, it like adds a lot of context, especially when you can see how easily like Jade can manipulate her. Like it makes her feel naive. Like you can always say that even from like her initial quest, but this time but this is what makes you feel it. And that's the important thing about writing. It's not that you can logic out how things work, it's about how you can feel them. And Topaz actually feels like a naive person who is blindly putting her faith in evil people because she assumes the best in them. And they are not the best. But yeah, that definitely put Topaz over the top. If I was doing a she's in the closet tier, every character would be. If I was doing an in the closet tier, okay, the only characters who wouldn't be in the closet tier would be the characters who are just outwardly gay. Everyone in this game is gay. The only straight person in this game is Arlen. But yeah. Now we're getting to Kafka. I like Kafka. Kafka is a bit underdeveloped, but unlike a lot of the other underdeveloped characters, including some of her cohorts I'm going to be talking about later, she's underdeveloped because she is very well characterized as like a mystery character. Like she's a plot hook. Which, that's good. We don't know a lot about her, but we're also not supposed to, at least as far as it seems. Maybe she'll be in fucking version 5.x and it'll be like, hey, remember all this complex stuff that happened to me? And I'm like, no. And I'll be like, no, was I supposed to read the lore? But like, so far, she's gotten just enough screen time to establish a bit of her personality and somewhat of her role in like Stell's life while still being a good bit of an enigma. So I think she works well as like a mystery. She's still going in B tier because she doesn't because we don't know a lot about her yet. But I like what she is so far. I think she's going in a good direction. Next up, we've got Silverwolf, next Stellaron Hunter. So up until Plain Arcadia came out, Silverwolf was just the side content character. She'll show up to like prank Herda or like fight you in discount and knock off Pokemon. And then we finally got like she was well characterized, but she never did anything interesting, and that was the main detraction against her character. Now the main detraction about her character is that the shorts made to promote her are better than the stuff she has in the game. But Playing Arcadia finally did give her some dynamics because she got to play off both Asat Pramod and Blade. I really like her father-daughter thing with Blade, and I really like the way that she's just an absolute troll to Asat Pramod. Like, the moment where she texts one of the most powerful people in the universe who's trying to blow up a planet with her on it, that she's zeroed out his pension, is one of the funniest things in this fucking game. Like, I might change my mind, but like so far it's like low B, high B, low A tier. I think I think I'm gonna put her in B just to be a little fair to Blade. And Blade has a problem that a lot of the Xianzhou characters have, which is that Blade, or sorry, the problem is that the Xianzhou storyline was really fucking bad about telling you or showing you anything about its characters. Like, it starts off with an interesting setup of like, oh, Blade's being like, oh yeah, th- of the five, three must be punished, and it's like, oh, this guy isn't one of the three, but oh, our new buddy Don Hung is one of the three. That's interesting. Where's that going? And the answer is they kind of have a fight, then they don't do anything, and we don't figure out what the fucking beef is unless you play the side quests. Like, this is a beef of mine. I don't care how good your character hypothetically is in the lore or in the side quests if they're not good in the fucking story. Sorry, you don't get points for hypothetically being good. And like, for the longest time, Blade was a D tier character because his character just wasn't in the game. His character was in goddamn lore entries and side quests. And I was really annoyed by that. But what do you know? Playing Arcadia may be the best arc. I would have to replay it as a whole to cement my thoughts. But playing Arcadia, maybe the best arc, finally gave Blade things to like about him. Like, he still suffers a bit from, yeah, it feels like we were supposed to know and like be invested in the backstory that the Xianzhou forgot to tell us. But we do still get stuff from him, and I like the stuff he gets in Plain Arcadia. I really like the like stuck in the veracity scene. It's very evocative of the Muramasa and the Forge scene from Fate Grand Order Avalon the Fae, but it's good. And like, I think the main thing that draws blood from Blade's veins is, again, his father-daughter relationship with Silverwolf is really sweet. So like, I'm still a bit sour on him because they just didn't tell the first part of his story properly. But like, I do now like him. He's not a bad character anymore. And now we're getting into a similar ballpark with Daniel Hang, one of the main characters of the video game, who so I think it's very telling that the second arc of the game was meant to be like clearly based around Don Hung's past and his character, and he didn't become a decent character until Amphorius. That was two whole versions later. Two versions after what was supposed to be the big Don Hung story is when they finally make Don Hung a character. And again, this is on the Xianzhou not being good at character at all, but like, I can't help but hold it against it. Like, I do like once Amphorius finally gets around to developing him. Like, I really like the scene with the ghosts of all his friends, and where he gets to talk to his past life. Who's like, yeah, I probably would have done all that evil shit again to protect my friends. And it's like, oh, you get to see the common thread between the two versions of Dan. That's nice. I like that, and I really like how they managed to show that Don Hung really cares about his friends, but he doesn't show it through words well. He shows it through action. And like, it's a bit of a stock character, but they do it well when Amphorius eventually gets around to that. But like, for most of the game, Don Hung is just like so I need to rant about something. A very popular archetype is loner guy who's quiet and stands off to the side. guy who stands off to the side and doesn't do anything interesting and doesn't say anything interesting to add to conversations is not a compelling character type unless you give them really good internality. And Don Hung didn't have any internality until Amphorius. So I think I'm putting him right around his doomed husband over here, um, because they have similar issues. I think Dan's better than Blade at this point, but he also suffers most from having just like so much of his character just not told to us. I don't actually hate the Xianzhou storyline. It's just very bad at characters. And then we're going to get to the fourth member of the High Cloud Quintet, Jing Yuan. And this is going to be a slightly different take. I think Jing Yuan's a good character. I think he was poorly used in the actual Xianzhou story, because when you've got one of those master planners like, I have everything under my everything is going exactly as planned. I'm 5 steps ahead of everyone. That can be annoying if they're on the enemy side, but if they're on your side, that just kind of deflates the stakes, because you're like, oh, well, clearly this is like part of the dude's plan, because his whole character is about how he's got a bunch of plans going. So you don't really feel a lot of tension in Xianzhou because you've got Jing Yuan as a like safety net to fall back on. I think this would have been really good if they played into the duality of Jing Yuan. Like if when you're playing as the Trailblazer, he's like, oh yeah, I'm your friend. I got a bunch of plans to help you out. And then when you're playing as Don Hung for Don Hung's part of the story, Jing Yuan is like sending up fleets of like soldiers to seemingly kill Don Hung. And it's like, oh, this dude hates our friend. He can't be trusted. Is he really on our side? And then when you eventually get to the beach scene and it reveals that Jing Yuan's plan was essentially bring Don Hung to the right place so that he can save the Xianzhou or the Luofu, it's like, oh, so that was his plan, but it also removes the safety net of him having a plan, and they don't really do that well because Don Hung's storyline is underdeveloped. So yeah, he's a B tier, but if he was used properly, he could have been an A or an S tier. I'm putting him with his bros. So Jing Liu, and I might be a little bit of a hypocrite because she is also a character who only matters for the goddamn side quests, which is really annoying. And she also suffers from the Xianzhou just not telling you about the High Cloud Quintet story. Like the interesting stuff happens in the side quests after you do the Xianzhou, and that's really annoying. Like I remember when the anniversary video came out soon. I saw like a frame where they had the whole quintet, and I saw that Bai Hung was there, and I was like, oh hey, Bai Hung, we're getting a good look at her. And I sent that to my friends, and one of my friends who has been into Star Rail for longer than I have replied, who's Bai Hung? For those of you who haven't played Honkai Star Rail, the core storyline of the Xianzhou is about these 4 former close friends and their 5th former close friend named Bai Hung, who broke up when not only did Bai Hung die, but this dude, his past life, tried to use forbidden magic to resurrect her and turned her into a monster. And the story doesn't tell you any of that shit. But I do think that Jing Liu is probably the best quintet. Because like us with her where she kills Blade is really cool. This is a bit of my bias. I think all of the High Cloud Quintet are about the same level at this point. But yeah, Yanqing, he's bad. D's a bit too low. He gets some decent stuff later on. He's not very good. Qing Chui, she is fun. I like QQ. So far, I think she's like high C, but god damn it, Star Rail, you have to make her the new Arbiter General. You have to let her take over Yao Guang's role. Please, please, please. It would be the funniest thing ever. I would put Choo Choo in S tier if you do that. Then we got Fu Xuan, who's just as underdeveloped as Choo Choo, but is less funny. Her future sight fight scenes are fun, but she's just kind of not a lot. Su Shang could have been really good if they developed Don Hung's side of the storyline. I could see how him, her, and Luocha could be like a fun found family dynamic, or just like friends thrust together to form a bond. But they don't. So she's just not that good. Sorry. Gwen Ifan, putting her a bit higher up. I don't know a lot of the side quests with her, but she's just a bit more fun on the face of it. So she'll go slightly higher in C than Su Shang does. Yukong, lesbian yearner time again. There's a lot of gay people in this game. I'm going to be calling a lot of them very gay. Her quest is nice enough. She doesn't really do a lot. She's like high C, low D. I'm going to try and start blazing through these because I'm already 30 minutes in and we've got a lot of characters left to go. But yeah. Ting Yoon, I'm going to use the fugue, her fugue version for this. So I should probably be like the type of person who's the most big of a fan of Ting Yoon there is. Like, I really like dead girls who die before the story starts or at the beginning of the story, and whose entire existence is sort of an unspoken tragedy in the meta text. And there is some good stuff with her. I think the main issue is just they keep skipping over bits of her story. Like when they finally brought her back, I was like, wait, did we set this up? And then they skip from bringing her back to, oh, now the Astral Express is taking her somewhere. And it's like, when did this happen? I'm very disoriented. She is fun. I think, again, she's very fun in Plain Arcadia because Plain Arcadia is really good. And I like some of the stuff in her, like some of the depth in her character. She's going in the B tier, along with the other Xianzhou characters. And for at least Ting Yoon being underserved by the Xianzhou is the narrative point, because she was killed and replaced by the main villain before the story starts. So there's like tragedy in that. So yeah, honestly, you could put her either above or behind the High Cloud Quintet, and I wouldn't argue with you. Next up, Bailu. She's going around Yanqing in the I don't give a shit about her. I don't give a shit about her vibe. Like, again, it feels mean to put her next to Sampo because I just don't care about Bailu, whereas I actively hate Sampo. So like, yeah, she's like bottom of C. I don't give a shit about her. She has no moments. You know what? I'm saying this a lot of like, I'm not putting characters in D because I hate Sampo more and don't want to associate them with him. So I'm going to make a new tier. And this tier is about people I fucking hate. And it's just going to be Sampo. Yeah, you can chill out in there all on your own. And I'm going to put Bailu down here. Auto Apocalypse. I think I'm missing a side quest with him. So far, he seems mainly like he's just mystery and setup for when we eventually go back to the Xianzhou for his whole propagation thing. He's going in C tier for now, just because like he's there to be mysterious, but he also gets less time than Kafka. So he's sort of in a Schrodinger's cat situation where he could be a very good character or a very bad character, and it just sort of depends on what happens when the game eventually gets back around to him. Hanya and Shui, I can't put you in the I don't know you tier because you are in quests I've played, main story quests I've played. You just don't do anything, or like you just aren't developed at all. Anxiety Fox, who, whoa, ho. I have genuinely no idea how to name her. I think she's like in the high C tier. Mainly, like, I don't like her a lot. I'm not a big fan of her depth, but I do like how well characterized she is. Like, I do appreciate how much of an anxiety creature this woman is. Next up, we've got Argenti. So Argenti is barely in the game, and that's kind of the joke. Like, he just shows up places, does one thing, and then disappears. And you know what? I respect that. I respect a good bit. I'm willing to put Argenti in the bottom of B. I don't think there's a lot to him, but I do like the bit of this guy just randomly showing up at like random places and just being like, I'm here now, and then leaving immediately. It's funny. Ron May. So I had a very strong emotional reaction to Ron May when I first played her quest of like, holy shit, you're a horrible person. Uh, and I wouldn't be able to fully articulate those feelings. I remember being like, what the fuck do you mean you're trying to rebirth a god and also sent us down there to fight one without telling us? Like, that was a fucked situation. And I definitely had, and like, I did not like Ron May. I had a much stronger emotional reaction to her than I did most other characters at the time. I respect good heel work. Ron May's pretty high up. I think she's a good heel. Ratio. I'm not a big fan of Ratio. I think he was more fun in like the Annihilation Gang and Ron May side quests, and then he's just not that interesting in Penacony when he shows up again. I know a lot of people like him, mainly because they ship him with Aventurine, which I can't be mad at. Why does this say 100? I don't know why that says 100. See. Okay. So I don't. Ratio's fine. I I could see people being like, "Oh, he should be lower B tier," and I wouldn't argue with you a lot. Uh, I think part of my excitement was like, "Oh, this is potentially interesting character. I want to see like how they follow up on like this Annihilation Gang thing and their relationship with Screwlum," and then they don't. And maybe if they follow up with him again, it'll be fun. Uh, so far, he's fine. Not a big fan. And we finally hit the queen of lesbians herself, Black Swan, the woman of 1,000 sapphic subtexts. Uh, I'm not actually as big a fan of Black Swan as I am of any of her girlfriends. Like, she's fine. I think she's probably hovering around ratio for me. I do really like some of her scenes. Like, I think that's the main thing separating her from Ratio. I like her scenes more when she eventually gets to do things. Like, I really like the scene with her and Evernight. That's real fucked. I like it. And this is again part of the paratext, but I really like the trailer with her and Acheron is one of the best things that Star Rail has made. And you know what? I'm not the biggest fan of her character, and it would probably be fairly biased of me to put her in B tier where Ratio goes in C tier. They're both near the edges, honestly. So yeah, I'm putting Black Swan in B, lower B though. Misha's fun. I like so I need to make this clear. I'm a lot more kind on a character who is a weak character for most of their screen time and then has strong moments later if they don't have a lot of screen time. Like I'm a lot more frustrated at someone like Blade or Don Hung, especially Don Hung, who gets a lot, or someone we'll talk about later, who gets a lot of screen time to do nothing and then they have big moments and it's like you were useless and bad for most of your fucking screen time. But Misha is essentially a better example of that because Misha's weak screen time is basically just there to set him up vaguely. Like Misha exists. He's a bit of a little guy who freaks out. He's also seemingly got a bit of anxiety in him. And then it's mainly just to set up all of the plot twists with him. And I like the plot twists with him. He's honestly higher B than most. Why is Serval this high? Sorry. I think Serval's weaker than Ratio. I didn't realize how high some of these characters had gotten through Drift. Yeah. But yeah, Sorry, I lost my train of thought a little. Yeah, Misha is more fun. Not A tier, no. He's kind of like a better version of Clara or Hook. And I'm also going to move some other guys up because I'm realizing that implying that that Clara and Hook are better than most of these characters are going to get me is going to get me executed. All right, next up, now that I've done a bit of that rearranging, we've got Acheron. Uh, thank you. But yeah, uh, so so now we've got Acheron. Also for the delay people, I was replying thank you to Melon's very nice comment. Thank you, I like it. Um, Excited to see who's deserving of S tier. We are gonna get to S tier soon, honestly. So next up, we've got Acheron. I relate to Acheron a lot because I'm also a sapphic woman with horrible memory issues. Uh, I think Acheron is one of the best utilized characters in terms of the entire game. Like we only get insight into her like character relatively later on into Penacony, and like a lot of the stuff we get before that is like really like contextless, weird, interesting stuff. I like her a lot. I like her depth a lot. I like the way that the nihility, that like the power of her god is eroding her consciousness. But like I love the way that everyone on Penacony is kind of maneuvering around the fact that an emanator is here. Like for those of you who haven't played it, which is probably my only two viewers, hey Critics and Melon, thanks for watching. An emanator is like, so everyone gets their powers from like a certain god in the setting, the destruction, the harmony, the nihility, that sort of stuff. And an emanator is like a chosen agent of that god. And the fact that a chosen agent of an eldritch god has shown up to an unrelated to a seemingly unrelated complex plot on Penacony just kind of makes everyone have to deal with that. Like everyone's maneuvering around it. Everyone's trying to be like, okay, what's she an emanator of? It's very good. I really like the depth she gets later on. I like Acheron a lot. I might rearrange some of these guys to go into A later. But yeah, I like Acheron a lot. She's good. And we're finally getting to the first S tier character. Aventurine, when by the time of Penacony, where he gets all his plot, is the best character in Star Rail, bar none. And like, there's a lot of factors to it. For one, it's really interesting that we like very often get positioned in like his point of view, so he's essentially a villain protagonist, and you often forget how much of a villain he is up until the moment where he tries to kill you. It's great. His backstory is very good and very interesting. I love the roulette theme. It's not just like a theme, like a lot of these characters have very stylish designs that are just kind of like skin deep. They don't inform their characters in a lot of way. Aventurine being like a gambler because of his trauma and like the fucked up life he's lived and the way he has just gotten used to gambling his life over and over again, and like the way it relates to like that he essentially survived genocide just because he was the luckiest person on his planet. It's so good. There's so much interesting stuff. I love the fact that he's essentially like working for the guys who genocided his people, basically just because life didn't afford him a lot of options. He's really interesting, and I love how like his weird suicidal nonsense plays into sort of a rebellion against the IPC. It's Aventurine is great. And the other detail is that, so a lot of the times, if you're introduced to a character as like unlikable, and then the story it convinces you why they're great, that will make you like a character more than if they were just great from the beginning, because it's like you have a character arc with them. When I first saw Aventurine and he said a few lines, I was like, oh, this guy sucks. He's so annoying. And then when I eventually started liking him, I texted my friends, I must regretfully inform that I like the annoying freak now, because Aventurine is very good. That's not a hot take. He's one of the most popular characters in the fandom, but it is an accurate take. Gallagher. So I don't know if this is like a victim of me forgetting things or a victim of Honkai Star Rail poorly communicating things. It could be either one. I didn't know Gallagher was a history fictionologist. Uh, for those of you, who aren't fans of Star Rail, a history fictionalist is essentially a faction of people who spread misinformation and try to obscure the true history of the universe because they worship the god of mystery. And that's interesting. It's very funny that his initial joke of "I'm a 12-year-old boy" is actually like following his divinely ordained path. It's fucking hilarious. That's a little hilarious. I think they could go further with him. I think he's a bit better than Ratio, but like everyone from Ratio to Fugue, maybe not Ratio to Fugue, Ratio to Argenti are like on the razor's edge of B and C tier. You're right. That is our government. Our government are history fictionologists. Also, I love Kingdom Hearts too. I was actually planning my next ranking stream to be ranking every Kingdom Hearts game. Robin, she's fun but doesn't get enough focus. One of the few things I like about the finality quest from 3.8 is that we get a bunch of stuff from her. I also appreciate how heavily queer coded she is. She's going in C tier with people who don't get enough time. But I like her, and hopefully with the upcoming summer event, she's going to be getting more development. Next up, Boot Hill. I like Boot Hill. I think Boot Hill is another example of so Penacony was really good at character efficiency. I liked it a lot for that. Boot Hill doesn't get a lot of time in Penacony, but that's a lot because he's like a complication. Like he's the guy who exposes the fact that Acheron's lying about who she is. He's like a big complicating factor, and he is very good at that. Like a lot of his character depth with like his revenge quest is located to spoilers, but like I have a lot to say about Kingdom Hearts games, don't you worry. But yeah, so honestly, even though a lot of Boot Hill's character depth is like relegated to side quests, I'm okay with that because Boot Hill is just very well used in Penacony. I loved Penacony. Penacony was easily my favorite storyline until the finality quest came along and decided to retcon it to shit and back. But yeah, Boot Hill is like top of B. And I wasn't realizing that until I saw who I'd put near the top of B. And I'm like, yeah, I don't have a lot of strong attachment to him as a personality, but he was really well used. I really liked the way he fit into that story. This section has just become me gushing about Penacony. But yeah, now we've got Firefly, my favorite trans girl mech pilot war criminal. I love Firefly. She's going in A tier. I don't know how people hate her. I fucking love her. I really love her dynamic with the Trailblazer in particular is one of the most characterizing things the Trailblazer gets in the game. Like it's her relationship with Firefly and her relationship with Garbage. That's probably weird for the people in chat who aren't fans of Star Rail, but Firefly is so good. I really love her like transcoding and desire to like live a life that isn't slowly killing her and feels authentic to herself. And I think like throwing in her relationship with the Trailblazer, namely Stell, is really interesting. I love how gay they are. And I really like the moment in Farewell Penacony where it's like she goes to Jade for help and it's implied she might eventually end up selling out the Stellaron hunters for her own safety. That would be so interesting. But unfortunately, the finality quest came around to ruin that by retconning Farewell Penacony out of existence. I'm not still bitter, I promise. Jade is a lot of a setup character. She's probably like realistically, like, I think a lot of the difference between Jade and some other characters is like her setup is better because you can very often like Jade is a manipulator, and in like every single scene, you can like see how she's like playing a game, or like you're questioning what's her fucking game because you know she's evil, you know she's a fucking bitch, but you're like, how does she win from this? So she's a much more engaging character, even though she's not in a lot of the game. Yeah, that is. But yeah, no. To clarify, Firefly is not the one who loves trash. The Trailblazer is the one who loves trash. They are a raccoon in human form, but like the Trailblazer's most characterizing traits are her love for trash and her relationship with Firefly. But yeah, uh, so jumping back to where the fuck did I leave Jade? There she is. So yeah, Jade is also like one of those characters where like a lot of times you can fall into the trap of tell don't show. Jade is strong because her character is mainly just she's a manipulator, but it gets to show you how in like interesting and complex ways. And like again, I feel like I can't morally put her higher than B tier because she doesn't really have a lot of depth yet, but she is very compelling whenever she shows up in scenes. She really makes the scenes better. I like her a lot. Yeah, I know there's a lag. I know there's a big lag. I'm just only going to be able to respond to your comments later on. Uh, I still will do it though. But yeah, then we've got Yoon Lee. Yin Lee's not a lot. Her dynamic with Yanqing in the war dance is fun. She mainly suffers from the fact that I talked about Trash Girl at the beginning of the stream, Credex. Trash Girl is the Trailblazer. Firefly is not Trash Girl. Firefly is the Trash Girl's girlfriend. I talked about Trash Girl's love for trash during Firefly's segment. Sorry, I'm being mean. I don't mean to like berate you, but like, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I know. I just started talking about Yoon Lee. Yoon Lee's not a lot. She. It's Yunli. I don't blame you. This game is Chinese, so it's got a lot of a lot of Chinese names, which can be hard to intuit the spelling for if you're white like me. Um, but yeah, so Yoon Lee, I Yoon Lee's main problem is just that War Dance was bad, or War Dance was weak. She has some banter with Yanqing, and that's funny. I like their dueling masters dynamic with March. She doesn't get to do a lot. She's C tier. She's probably a bit higher than Yanqing, but she's not. But she's not great. Then we have knockoff Grahatia. For those of you who haven't played Final Fantasy 14, I don't know how to articulate how much this guy is just a weaker version of Grahatia, and I don't want to sidetrack this entire stream into talking about Final Fantasy 14. The point is, everything Zhao Cho does, Grahatia does better and more so. Like, I remember when Yao Cho literally poisons himself so the wolf man who's trying to eat him will lose against his like friend / master. I'm like, yeah, that's a fucking Grahatia ass move if I've ever seen one. So yeah, he's good. He's got some good moments in War Dance. He's one of the only characters with good moments in War Dance. But also he is weakened by the fact that he's just a weaker version of a character I've seen before. So yeah, low B tier for him. Mose does nothing. We're back in the reign of underdeveloped C tier characters that Bellabog graced us with. He's just kind of there. He's just kind of like Zhao Cho's partner. I don't actually mean that in a gay way. I know there's a ship, but like they just work together actually. It more seems like they're both in love with Fei Zhao. And speaking of Fei Zhao, so a lot of people like War Dance. I think that's a way of saying a lot of people like Fei Zhao, and Fei Zhao is really cool in War Dance, but War Dance doesn't do a lot of this as a story. And I agree. Fei Zhao is really cool. She gets very high just off of the rule of cool. In fact, I'm putting her slightly below Boot Hill because while I have more attachment to Fei Zhao as a character, it's like the opposite. I have a lot less attachment to Boot Hill as a character, but I have a lot more love for how he's integrated into his story. I like Fei Zhao. She's fun and she's cool, but also War Dance just wasn't very strong. Rappa. I think Rappa could be a very polarizing character. So if you hated Rappa, if Rappa was your Sampo, I would get it because her character is Chunibyo. She's like LARPing anime and manga all the time, and that is very annoying. And then they get to her backstory, and it's actually sad. And it's like, fine, I'll feel bad for you, but I don't like that I feel bad for you. So, like, I think there's like B tier elements to Rappa's character, and there's D tier elements to Rappa's character. So I'm just gonna average that out to say Rappa is C tier. Next up, we got Sunday. We got good little Christian boy who tried to become God. I think Sunday is fun. I think, yeah, it's definitely count off about the lag in chat. That would be very helpful. Thank you. But yeah, so I like Sunday. I especially like Sunday in Plain Arcadia. Fucking surprise there. Take a drink every time I say I like this character more in Plain Arcadia. Man, I do like Plain Arcadia a lot. But my thing with Sunday is like, I feel a bit of a disconnect from like his villain motive to his turnaround to being an express cohort. I really like him as an express cohort. I think he adds stuff, and I can't wait for like more development to like him joining the crew. And also, I really hope they don't kick him off in the next patch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And I'm going to go back to doing this, but I really like him as an express cohort. I'm very interested to see where things go with Sunday. But I think there is a bit of a disconnect between I'm going to become God and create paradise so that the world, so that no one ever has to suffer again, so that no Charmony dove ever has to die because it broke its wings. He talks about that Charmony dove a fucking lot, but like I'm less sure. Like I'm less sure of how he goes from that to, oh yeah, no, that was a bad idea. I'm sure as hell not doing that shit again. But I do like that but I do also like that his take is like, oh, that his take is like, oh, I'm like very unsure of where I am after like his plan failed, and is like, hey, I want to join the Astral Express crew, both to not escape legal consequences for my actions, but also to find myself and figure out what I did wrong. Actually, you know what? I'm talking myself through it. I see it more. It's like the fact that people so loudly rebelled against his desired perfection, even after he like tried to explain it to them very quickly, or not very quickly, quite in depth. And he's like, well, I guess everyone hated that. What the fuck was I doing wrong? And he's sort of on a quest to figure out like who he needs to be. I like that. Again, I think 3.8 complicates this a lot because it's less like, oh, I guess it just adds like he's trying to create a new path. It just leaves a sour taste in my mouth because 3.8 leaves a sour taste in my mouth. I have talked myself into liking Sunday more than I thought I did when I started this. The Herda. I'm counting most duplicate characters as one and the same. I like the Herda. She's fun. I really like know-it-all stuck-up women, which is a trait not shared by a lot of people. I think I like the dynamic she adds to Amphorius, where there's like, oh, what's happening? I really like how she has a whole plan to shoot a laser at God just to get its attention. That's fun. I like Herta for that. But like, Herta's another one of those. Will get better when she gets more time. And I really like her like big hands off of Amphorius moment. I'm talking myself into putting her further up. I think I'm leaving her in B tier just because she doesn't get to do a lot outside of Amphorius. But I do like her character. She's a lot of fun. My big gripe, my big gripe is that like after Penacody spends so much time like freaking out over the fact that Acheron's an emanator, people just walk up to the Herta space station and they're like, oh yeah, Herta's an emanator, and that doesn't impact how they act around her. And I'm like, wait, I thought this was a massive deal. And and they're just like, yeah, that's just the thing about her. And I guess it's because she's less of an enigma, but I don't know. I really liked how big of a deal emanators were in Penacony, and I think going straight into how Hurt is handled in the Amphoria storyline kind of deflates that tension a bit. Aglaya. So I think Aglaya is someone I'm gonna put around the Boot Hill thing because she doesn't get a lot of moments to show off her character. I'm gonna put her above Boot Hill because she gets more moments in the main story than Boot Hill does. But the thing is, like the reason I have a similar reason. Like, I don't think she's as well used as Boot Hill, but she's very much meant to be a supporting character, which stands out a lot because every other Chrysosaur and Amphorius gets like a big thing dedicated to their backstory to be like, oh, look at this girl's moment, or look at this sad boy's backstory. And Aglaya doesn't get a lot of that. She is mainly just like the netting used for everyone else to stand up. She's used to inject tension into 3.0. She's used to push Phynon further later on, and she's used to build a relationship with Cypher, which is really good. And honestly, I think like she's missing some sauce a lot of the other Chrysosaurs have, but she is a very good supporting character. Like, she plays her role well, even if it is a bit of the annoying, wow, she's in here a lot and doesn't get a lot of good character depth. But at least she gets more than Phynon. Who said that? What? Treeby. So I was really not feeling Amphorius at first. Treeby's big flashback was the moment that made me go, oh, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be really good. I'm gonna enjoy this. Because like I love like the weird memory flashback breakdown of like her true self breaking herself apart, and like her new child fragmented selves trying to remember. It was a really strong scene, and I like the way that Trianne is like slowly losing herself. It's very good. Treeby's, I don't know if I'll put her above Acheron. I like Treeby. She's the character who got me into Amphorius. Mighty. So Mighty has good moments. This is actually going to play into the revenge story thing I talked about in my Supergirl stream. So, you know what? 1 second. I gotta go blow my nose. I'll be back in like 5 seconds. Okay, so Mighty. Uh, Mighty has like sort of a problem I've alluded to recently, but also a problem that I talked about in my last stream with vengeful characters. You may remember that in that convergent evolution where they all turn into Sasuke chart I did, one of they was Mighty, and I really don't like his initial story. His revenge story is very boring. It's not very interesting. It's just kind of stock standard. what I like is after that's done, and he has to start dealing with the emotional fallout of like, or not the emotional fallout, but the logical fallout of like his people's history. Like he's basically the crown prince of Sparta in this story, except their god was evil, and there's a lot of complicating factors in how their god harmed them. And now that he's killed their god, he's expected to take their place, and he's like, can I be a god and a king? Should I even be a god? Is the Kremnoan culture even like, how can the Kremnoan culture even continue to survive as itself? And how can I continue to stay true to it? And it's very interesting. Like, Mighty gets a lot better when he's not being vengeful. And like he gets interesting, but I am a little annoyed that like half his story is him being boring. Uh I guess I will put him in A tier. He's lower A tier, and I want the record to reflect that selfishly, I personally like Jade a lot more than I like Mighty. But I'm trying to put aside my biases as much as possible. So next up, Castorus. So I think Castorus is a strong concept that they just kind of kept failing to do anything with. Like the idea that you can't touch anyone without killing them, that's a lot. That's a really strong emotional issue. But we don't get a lot of time to really see how that makes Castorus feel. Like we can see the literal results. She's a bit meek and selfish and wants to connect with people, but we don't really get to like see a lot of her internality and like the way that this has fucked her up specifically. Like we can sort of see the after effects, which are just less interesting. Like we don't really see how it works. So it's like it feels for a lot of the time like a strong concept that they're just only scratching the surface of. Uh, and this is especially annoying because like a major plot line of her little arc, when they're like, oh, we're gonna kill the death god and then no one will ever die, I just won't become the new death god, it'll be everything, one will be immortal again. And it's really annoying to me because the whole Xianzhou storyline was about how being immortal sucks, and the people who became immortal once they were freed of it trying to kill the god who made them immortal in the first place. So it's kind of like, hey, that seems relevant. Like, even if you're going to shoot it down in some way, I feel like either Don Hung or the Trailblazer, both of whom are present, should be like, hey, immortal life actually sucks. So, like, for most of the storyline, she's like C tier. They don't do very much with her. And then they have like the anime music video they play near the end of her arc. And that's a really strong music video. And not gonna lie, that is the thing that saves her from C tier. Because it's like you finally get almost everything I was asking for. You get to see her past and how she was like eternally destined to be unable to interact with people, to watch everyone die without her. It's strong. It's a really good cutscene. So yeah, that saves Castorus from C tier. But she's still one of the weaker Chrysosaurs. Anaxa. In a lot of ways, Anaxa kind of feels like worse Aventurine. Like, he is also a pretentious asshole who's really annoying when you first meet him, but his depth is not as strong as Aventurine. Like, the most likable thing about Anaxa is his immense commitment to the bit. Like, I love how much he commits to his thing. I love how much he's like the god skeptic, and then when he finally figures out how the gods of Amphorius works, he's like, I fucking figured it out. I'm gonna happily go die now because I was fucking right, you idiots. That's an impressive level of commitment to the bit. And you know what? I respect it. That's some good character moment. Top of B tier for Anaxa. You know what? I like Anaxa a bit more than I like Mighty. Bottom of A, top of B for Anaxa. Even if he's really annoying at first. Next up, Hyacinth. I want to like Hyacinth. She's fun, but also like, she's kind of like Castorus, except they aren't they don't, except she doesn't get a really strong anime cutscene to highlight all her issues. Like, I like a lot of her issues. I do really like the Sky Titan fight, but she's also just, I don't know, she's one of the weaker Chrysosairs. I'm gonna put her very bottom of B, but just because I think she's a bit too good for C, but like she's right on the edge. And I wouldn't mind if anyone put her in C. We've got Cypher. Cypher's the second S tier character. I love Cypher. She's so good. She's a lot of fun. She's got a really engaging personality, and she's also got a lot of strong choices and depths. Like, you don't really get her at first. You like get, oh, she's running away from her like duty, and then you get the moment where it's revealed that she used her essentially lie powers to save the world and then self-isolated so no one could ever find out and break her illusion is so strong. The way she gives the way that she like gave everything for Amphorius without ever having to raise a peep about it. I love the way she stumbled into being a hero and the way that she just like will keep that on the down low for herself because she doesn't like talking about it. And like, God, the dying over petty change bit. That's so strong. Cypher is S tier character. Like, Cypher is just strong in general. I love her. There's not like a one point that makes her great. She's just good at everything. And finally, we're getting to the final boss of this. Not actually, there's more characters left, but God. Finon is the most popular character in Honkai Star Rail. I think he's a B tier character at best. And that's at best. Like, he is there for so much of Amphorius, and he just never does anything interesting. He's stock nice guy protagonist with no depth. Even his like homoerotic relationship with Mighty gives him no depth. It gives Mighty depth because you get to see him make interesting choices. But like the closest thing Finon gets to depth from it is just like every fucking stock rivalry ship vibe. Like there's every fun scene with Finon and Mighty in it. Like that could just be a Zosan scene, a Zoro and Sanji scene, or an Asta and Yuno scene, or a Naruto and Sasuke scene. And then he does something really interesting when he's like, I've got to give this speech to like convince people to rally behind the Chrysosairs. And instead of like giving a speech about unity, he's like, all the people who hate me are fucking rats. These guys are all fucking idiots who want to make the world worse on purpose. They're the scum of the earth. Work with us because we're cool. And I'm like, that's a really fucked up thing to say and a really interesting thing because it's finally breaking your archetype. Are we going to deal with this? No, the next time it comes up, he's like, hey, that was a mean thing to say, and I'm sorry. And I'm like, that was the most interesting thing you've done this whole fucking game, you dumbass. And then we finally get to 4.5, which is the Finon patch. It's all about Finon. And the patch is very well written. All of the scenes are really good. It doesn't add any depth to Finon. Like, 4.5 is Finon suffered a lot. Did you know that? And it's like, wow, that's some good written suffering. But like knowing a character suffered a lot doesn't add anything. Like this doesn't add dimension to his personality. This doesn't add like scope. This doesn't add depth or anything. Like I've got a whole stream planned out for like what makes a character good. And Finon is one of my best examples because Finon is so one note and derivative and okay, I'm harder on Finon than a lot of people are because he's very clearly ripping from my favorite fictional character of all time, Artoria Castor from Avalon LaFay and Faker and Order. But God, there's just nothing there. He's just a boring guy. And then 3.7 is like, hey, did you know Finon suffered a lot? Yeah, that's the one thing I knew about him. I'm glad they finally let him go away so that Cyrene could have more time because she's better. But God, I was going to put him in B tier and I've talked myself down. Finon is... Look, Finon is fine. I really like his scenes in 4.5. His animated cutscene is cool, but he just has no character depth. And he has so much time having no character depth. He's in so much of it, and he never does anything interesting, except for when he immediately takes it back. So my voice is going. I'm gonna try and get through these faster. Hi, Ceilins. She's fine. I like her. I like her last scene with Saridra. I'm putting her a bit. I'm putting her in the. I'm putting her in the Hyacinth and Castorus tier of decently written, but could have used a lot more development. Excuse me. Saridra, I like her a lot more. She gets a lot more strong character choices. I like that she's awful. I like that she is awful. I like her little possessive relationship with High Ceilings. She's good. I like the horrible shit she does at the end of her story, even if she is also a little derivative of an Avalon the Fae character. Evernight, I like her a lot. She's very intense. No, not S tier. No. I like her. I'm gonna need some lozenges. The game's been going on for like 5 years, and it's a gacha game. There's so many. But yeah, I like Evernight. She's very intense. She's a very good villain. Like I love that she's like the first character to really fucking use the remembrance power for all it's worth. I like the way that she's not pure evil. She's like manifesting as like a twisted version of March. I consider her very different from March. I love like the twisted way she is. I love the way she fucks with you. I like her a lot. She's good. Goth March is best March. And now we're very close to being done. But we're finishing off with Amphorius with Cyrene. Cyrene is the best character in this game. Cyrene is the only time I have initially not been sold on a character, and then the story convinced me I needed to roll for her immediately. She's so well built up where initially there's just the memo sprite and you're like, what's this? Is this March's unconscious mind? And then it like builds up and you're like getting flashes of Cyrene and Finon's memory, and then she like takes over as the deuteragonist for the second half of the patch, and she's so much better at it because we're so often seeing like pieces of her from afar instead of her just standing there and being uninteresting. We're getting bits and pieces, and it's really interesting, and like I really like it. But like so she gets a lot of time in 3.7, and 3.7 is one of the best patches in this game. Her the big moment where it's like the thousands of versions of her communicating with the Demiurge, and then the Demiurge like loving her so much that the Demiurge develops into a person that's so good and transcoded, and it's maybe the most emotional I've been in this game. I love Cyrene. I don't know why people hate her so much. Or I do. It's because she's a woman and she replaces Finon as a major character. But yeah, I'm going to move on from her, even though she's the best character in this game. All right, now I'm moving to the Fate characters, and I'm at a crossroads. Do I rank the Fate characters based on how good they are in Fate or how good they are in Star Rail? And I think going with my take of you don't get points if you're not for things that aren't in the main story, I have to rank these guys based on how they are in Star Rail, which is too bad because they're a lot worse in Star Rail than they are in Fate. If we were ranking these guys on Fate standards, they would all be S tier because Fate is great. I love Fate. But yeah, Archer and Saber are both C tier. Rin and Gilgamesh are both B tier. Gilgamesh is a lot more fun than Rin in this. But Rin is also a lot of fun. I like her. She's probably around here. But yeah, we're finally getting to the Dahlia. This is the gayest woman I've ever seen. Like, so much of her lines and moments are just her being gay as shit. She's so fucking gay. She's very intense. She's fucked. She's creepy, and she's not on screen long enough to ruin her appeal. So yeah, I like her. I don't like her patch very much, but that's because it retconned Farewell Penacony. But yeah, I like the Dahlia, Constance, whatever you want to call her. She's so fucking gay. Yao Guang. Yao Guang's a lot of fun. I like that she's actually kind of insane. Like, I she's very fun. She's very insane. I like that she's always disappearing. She's she's very good at utilizing context. Like her big speech in 4.0 was the coolest, one of the best moments in that segment. It's one of the coolest moments in the story, and it's just her giving you exposition because the world is so well built out that the idea that humans that humans can influence the eldritch gods who govern their life. Its lives are so interesting. She's like low A, high B tier. I like her a lot. You know what? I'm putting her low A tier. Next up, Sparkle and Sparksy. So with most SPs, I've either ranked them entirely separately because they're different characters like Evernight, or I've just only ranked their SPs like Tingyun. I'm ranking Sparkle and Sparksy together because they are very different characters, but their interesting, their dynamic is what together is what makes them so interesting. Like Sparkle is already a lot of fun in Penacony, even if she's not there. I love the sort of like enigmatic agent of chaos who like you never know where she stands, especially because she's actually fun and a good execution of that archetype. I was not about Sparkle's character development, but I'm so happy it was. The idea of your persona growing beyond you and your human self being what falls to the wayside as secondary is so interesting. Like if this was earlier in the stream, I'd have a bigger thing to say about them, but my throat's sore. So the one thing I will otherwise say is that this is also me disclosing my biases because Sparkle is my personal favorite character in Star Rail. But I'm willing to be objective enough to say she's not quite an S tier. God, my voice sounds bad. 1 second. All right, I'm back and my voice is less bad. I've only got 3 more characters to get through. I know what this says. I'm not ranking these SPs separately. So let's get to it. First off, Ashvale. Ashvale's a lot of fun. I don't like him quite as much as my friends do. He's probably A tier. He is the most kooky. He's not kooky random. He is so fun. His character is like he's the most hyper competent broke loser ever. He's the head of a galaxy spanning division of like freelance cowboy peacekeeper enforcers. Except most of his life is just being a shitty broke detective on the side. His introduction is ominously raising himself out of a fridge like a coffin and saying, "Leave the delivery order at the door." He gets some interesting depth, like as La Mancha, as Ashvale, but like the fact that you're contrasting the interesting, serious parts of him with the most girl fail a cis man has ever been is the thing that makes him so much fun. Though I personally prefer Nihilux. If she was on here, she would be higher than him, but unfortunately, she's not playable yet, so she's not on here. Evanescia. I love Evanescia. She's great. She was not as important to Plain Arcadia as I thought she would be. I do still love her, though I can realize this is more one of my biases things. Like, Ashvale's probably better than her, but I really like Evanescia. I love her enthusiasm. I love her. Oh, hey, we got a new chatter. But yeah, I love her enthusiasm. I love her like tragedy of like loving the world and not really being able to interact with it. She's kind of like a more interesting casteress, isn't she? Wow. But yeah, no, I love how she plays into the world building. Like I don't have a coherent argument to make about Evanescia. I just think she's a lot of fun. And the last character, I saved Himeko for last because she gets way more development in Plain Arcadia than she ever did before. Like before Plain Arcadia, she's like C or D tier. She's around Welt, probably lower because she gets less screen time. She was the biggest victim of you're a main character, but you never get character depth. Top of A tier as well. She's my favorite Express cohort, except probably the Trailblazer. She has so much depth. I love her relationship with her dad, who is actually her fake dad, who is actually a god, a demigod of a destruction. I love her. I love her fucking backstory with her like chronic illness and her imaginary friend. It's so good. There's so much depth to her. I love that she makes a fucking mech suit. But yeah, Plain Arcadia really turned Himeko into one of the weakest links of HSR's story to one of the best parts of it. I love her now. And that's everyone. I'm not ranking the SPs. I'm not ranking anyone who's not playable. My voice is gonna kill me if I try. Thank you for watching this. I will have a more structured stream next week on Thunderbolt, or not next week, on Friday on Thunderbolts and the 3-act structure. I'm planning to do another ranking stream next week on all the Kingdom Hearts games. I'll probably talk more in depth about each game than about the characters here because there's a lot less of them. And yeah, please check me out. I'm gonna have to jump off stream right now because my throat is trying to kill me.